2026 regular meeting of the Town of Erie Planning Commission. The time is now 6:30 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Commissioner Salish.
Live from Holbrook.
Commissioner Dreckman.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Bayham.
Yes.
Vice Chair Brodus.
Present.
Chair Hemphill.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have an agenda before this evening. Does staff have any changes to the agenda?
No changes, thank you.
Okay. And who wants to make a motion on tonight's agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Booth and Dreckman. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. This brings us to approval of our January 7th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Do we have any changes or requests to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I heard Burns for the second and Brodus for the motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. This brings us to the public comments portion of the meeting. This is for public comments intended for items not already on the scheduled agenda to be discussed. Is there anyone in the waiting room signed up or in the audience? No one in the audience.
Nobody signed up and nobody in attendance.
All right, then I won't read the script. We have two items on the agenda for general business. Again, the goal is 8:30. I think that should be pretty doable tonight. Our first item is 2026-45, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the Town of Erie recommending that the Town Council adopt an ordinance repealing and reenacting Section 10.6.12 of the Erie Municipal Code and amending definitions related thereto, all regarding sign regulations. The time is now 6:32 p.m. and I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Hemphill, Vice Chair Brodus, and Commissioners. Before you tonight is an amendment to Section 10-6-12 of the Erie Municipal Code, which is the sign code section of our UDC. Tonight we'll go over the background proposal and recommendation. The last update to the sign code was adopted by ordinance number 03-2022 on January 11th, 2022. This update was part of an overall UDC cleanup and update to text throughout the whole municipal code, so it didn't just center just around the sign code. The proposal will address both Chapter 6, Section 12, and Chapter 11, Section 3 of the UDC. The main proposal and the main revision of this section clarifies language and replaces much of the existing text with a single cohesive table, making it easier to decipher the code requirements by zoning district. I would say that's probably 85% of the requests that we're asking for. In developing the amendments to our temporary sign code allowance, staff coordinated with the Economic Development Department to ensure that the proposed changes support and align with the needs of our local businesses. The temporary sign code section was clarified and amended to provide greater flexibility by increasing allowable display time from 30 days to 120 days per calendar year, with no temporary sign in place for longer than 30 consecutive days. A-frame sandwich board signs are exempt from the 30 days, and they're also exempt from building permits, provided they remain on private property and do not impede pedestrian circulation. On this slide here, let's see, under prohibited signs, we made some updates to provide greater flexibility for businesses. The language was updated to allow sign copy changes from once every 4 hours to once every 30 minutes. And we've also removed ground signs from this section of the code. Under terms defined in Chapter 11, Section 3, we've added a sign code definition for off-premise signage. Our current sign code does refer to off-premise signage, but it doesn't have a definition. So we wanted to clarify that in our update. For approval criteria, the request does meet all the approval criteria. The proposed amendment will promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. And the proposed amendment is generally consistent with the town's comprehensive master plan and the stated purposes of the UDC. And the proposed amendment is necessary or desirable because of changing conditions, new planning concepts, or other social or economic conditions. Staff is recommending that you approve Resolution P26-02, which recommends the Town Council adopt the ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 6, Section 12 of the Erie Municipal Code and amending definitions in Chapter 11. This item is scheduled for public hearing in front of Town Council at their February 10th, 2026 regularly scheduled meeting. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. We'll go around the commission. I'll just start with Commissioner Burns.
One, I guess, small thing. I appreciate the table. It's a lot easier to read. Is there a need to have a legend for the acronyms for the different zoning districts? Just for reference purposes, because someone who's not maybe as familiar might try to figure out what they're looking up and they see L1 or LI or, RR, et cetera. So if it's, I don't know if there's a need to put a legend or a key into the table as well.
Generally, the legend in the zoning districts is addressed in the zoning map, which has all of those different zoning districts. So when you're trying to find what kind of or what type of sign or what size of sign that you're allowed, you'll generally refer to the zoning map first and then the sign code subsequent.
Okay, which I appreciate. I know it's elsewhere in the code. It's just not in this table. That's all. It's a standalone. Just a minor thing. That's all I have.
Thank
Thank you.
Commissioner Bayham,
Nothing from me.
Commissioner Dreckman,
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Sawish.
I know we removed ground signs. Do we have any definitions? What were ground signs? What do they apply towards now within the current draft ordinance?
So, ground signs in the current code, you should be able to find that in Chapter 11 in terms defined, but it is defined as a freestanding sign that is mounted on poles or braces. So we did remove it because we do have several signs like that in town, but it was just another way to allow an option for some of the businesses if they want one of those smaller signs. Typically, the size of that sign we usually see with the monument signs.
Okay. I was around the last time we made this update, back in 2021. Question for you is, where do political signs now sit in regards to this?
So I believe, so I know that they are addressed with the town clerk's office when election season comes up on where you can place them. Chris, do you know that part offhand? I do believe that if they're of a certain size, we don't require building permits for them. They just can't be placed in the public right of way. They can be placed on private property.
That's correct.
And there's a limit to the number you can have.
Number of days.
For election signs?
The number of signs you can have in your yard. There's a limit of 2, I believe. It's never
2.
enforced, but there's a limit in the code.
That part I'm not familiar with.
That's right.
I do believe there is a limit. I don't actually have the current sign
That's all right.
in front of me.
My understanding was it was 2 for each facing street.
For
It's
each
like
frontage.
Yes,
House
that probably makes
Has a
sense.
back
That does
piece
sound
of street, so you could have 2 in the back.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Again, it's never been enforced that I know of.
So never been enforced or could be enforced are two completely different things,
I know.
So
It definitely can be enforced.
especially with us now having a full-time code enforcement officer.
Yeah.
So
It definitely can be.
yes, so and having gone through in 2024 and getting receiving feedback from the former town attorney as per what was placed on the website, the town's website, it was no more than 2 signs should be within a single property boundary. Hypothetically, you have a general election. You have presidential, you have gubernatorial, Senate, the list goes on. You then also have the various measures. So having gone through that process, there were a lot of residents who were concerned saying, hey, I'm being restricted in terms of my First Amendment rights. Obviously, in terms of what the then town attorney said was, well, we have time and place restrictions that we can place on it as long as they're reasonable. So the question would be if there is how it used to be where political signs were exempt from this, if that's something that we may want to bring back, or something to the effect of 1 sign per ballot measure and race, something to that effect, so that individuals can express themselves, can provide their First Amendment rights and be within a reasonable bound still. So you're not having, a littered yard of 27 different signs, but within a reasonable fashion. So that would be the only thing that I have to say on this, but otherwise it makes sense.
Thank you.
I think what we can do too, with respect to that, is double check with our council between now and town council and just make sure that we're squared away on that issue. I think that's an important one.
Yeah, and again, hearing from former town attorney Carberry, it fell to this sign code, and it was 2 per, as Commissioner Burns had said, 2 per street-facing side of property. So that's where some of the gripes came from and some of the animosity from some of the residents. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Booth.
My only question was, I assume back in 2022, which was the last update, did that also go through the Planning Commission at that time too? Or just straight to the Board of Trustees?
I do believe it did, but again, the ultimate decision lies with the Board of Trustees.
Yeah. That's really it.
I don't have anything, thanks.
I think. Yeah, to Commissioner Salish's point, I was just looking up the code and
Yeah.
it's well, it scrolled away from me. Number of signs permitted, section F somewhere, just stating that too, but it wasn't clear if that captured the political signs. So as you go through assuming we approve this, which I think is, working with before you get ready to go to council, I think is a good plan.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. I think probably the political signs fall more under the temporary sign requirements, and I'm not sure if that specific section would apply, but we will double check that.
Typically, they're allowed maybe 30 days prior to election. They have to be removed 30 days after election, but we don't regulate content of the signs.
So that was the important thing, because it couldn't, non-regulation of the content, which there were many First Amendment suits that were brought forward. I do have an email that was from former town attorney Carberry as a candidate for office. So this is something that I can share with staff. So I can forward this on afterwards so you can see exactly what her interpretation of it was. But it was going through line by line, size. It actually matters in terms of the zoning class because of how we just had that table, obviously. So it's all reflected in that. So I can forward that on to you all so you can refer
Limited
to
to the 4 square feet, not larger than the 4 square.
Yeah, 32 non-gross, maximum allowable gross areas, 32 square feet. Vacant properties, same thing. I mean, it was the whole by this specific zone, and then it was per zone number of signs per street frontage, etc. So
Yeah, we would love to see that if you don't mind sharing that, and we'll follow up on it.
can do.
I think just looking at the draft ordinance tables 612-1, the general sign standards, it has the maximum number and then the 2 footnote with the 30 days.
And those agree with the previous code.
Yeah, so I think it's all pretty.
Yes, this code amendment definitely was not intended to alter or change any kind of requirements around political signs. But I think bringing that up was a great question that we'll clarify for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, just for clarification, this update did not make any updates to that. That was back in the 2021 update or 2022 update when that occurred.
All right, everyone's had a chance. Any final questions before we? All right. Does anybody want to request to make a motion? I have it printed out if you want to read everything.
So just out of curiosity, would anybody be willing for a recommendation with condition to exempt political signs from this code?
By the current code definition, those would fall under temporary signs.
They fall under the normal sign code, 2 per frontage and everything like that. Again,
Correct.
per former town attorney Kendrick Harvey.
Yeah, within the specific types of signs, though, were those temporary or permanent signs?
They were not deemed temporary signs in terms of her interpretation at the time. They were not deemed to be temporary signs. So they fell to the normal sign code.
So based on the sign code, there's 5 types: illuminated, temporary, projecting, monument, and wall signs. Which ones would they fall into?
They were deemed small signs.
Not currently in the definitions.
I think it's
Yeah,
probably
according to the website that discusses them, what it says is yard signs should be less than 4 square feet to avoid needing a temporary sign permit. So my guess is it's temporary.
So then it would fall to temporary at that point.
So those are restricted by 30-day limits unless extended with written permission. So
Okay, so then if we have a temporary sign, do they still fall to the guidelines of number and quantity per zone class? So we'd still fall to that.
they're still governed by what the table states.
Okay.
So the quantity, in my interpretation, would apply.
That's also my understanding as well. With the
The-
4 square feet, you don't need the building permit. They do fall under the temporary sign.
Okay, so again, just out of curiosity, would anybody be up for exempting political signs from the current sign code? Essentially reverting back to what it used to be in 2021.
I don't know if I'm super on board with that.
Yeah,
I don't feel like. I don't know if I would vote for that, to be honest. Is that a discussion?
my concern is it was changed, I think, based on public comment, but you were there, so I don't know that for a fact.
It was all based on recommendation from the town attorney's office. It was 9 chapters that we went through, I think. It was,
I believe so. That sounds about right.
It was, I mean, literally taking a red pen to everything that
Okay.
she wanted to. So,
Okay.
Commissioner Sowich,
Please.
could you clarify when you're saying exempting political signs, exempting from the sign code?
so let me see if
From regulation?
exempting them from the sign code provisions in terms of the quantity, or alternative is, actually stipulating 1 per office or something to that effect. But then again, if we do that, then you get into the content base, don't you?
And so that's my concern with that is that's the issue because you're then that yeah, exactly.
And then you bring up the challenge and potential of religious signs, that why aren't they exempted from this as well?
Because then you're getting back to content instead of time, place, and
Yes.
manner. Yeah.
Okay.
Another thought I had is if we exempt them, if I wanted to be obnoxious, I could put a billboard size sign with my favorite candidate on there. If this is just exempt from the sign, if we just blanket exempt it.
Yeah,
know
I
you're
just
talking
think-
about number, but
So
I think legally that's a concern. I think
Right.
then it would.
That's where
So-
that's my wheel.
I do have maybe a point of clarification then. The table in the proposed ordinance indicates maximum number of signs and it has for the 3 different categories. And with the note 2, in addition to those, so the max 2 per street front, it also allows, in addition to that, 2 temporary signs. So that's really 4.
Well, I mean, technically, but the way that the temporary signs are, they're temporary in nature. They're designed to maybe advertise like a limited event.
Well, that's what, because I think the argument was that the political signs fall under temporary signs. They're
Yeah.
just not enforced necessarily with the strict, like say 30 days. But that's what we'd otherwise have to lump them in with.
Well, I think so, but I think the best thing is there is information on our website that talks about some standards for that. I think that staff will take that under advisement. We should we'll vet it out with our attorney and make sure that we add a section in the update to town council regarding political signs.
Thank you.
But our code also does say that signs on private property not exceeding 4 square feet in area are exempt.
That's true. I mean, if they're under 4 square feet, they don't require a temporary use permit. So typically, I mean, we're not telling people what they can and can't post in terms of their own messages on their own property. So
And just
And
to
if they're
clarify,
larger?
that's exempt but that's a size
Size.
exemption, right?
Right.
Not a content
But
exemption.
if they're larger too, then a building permit is required and then they fall within what the table says.
Yeah.
Their signs go in their zoning district.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have the red lines from Erie Legistar. So we used to have signs accessory to churches, schools, other institutions, and then we had political signs. So both of those were actually notated in terms of it was 10612B, sign permit requirements and exceptions. So that entire section was removed. And if I remember correctly, it was the content-based arguments where we have different restrictions against different content, and that's why it got wiped out. So, I mean, you could always look at these as, these are election day holiday signs, and holiday signs are exempt from the sign code. So, but, again, something to bring up. I'm in agreement. I don't think we should try to address that right now, but I do think that's something that should be brought up with council so that, the town legal counsel had it before it being brought up to council so that it can be addressed.
Okay.
we'll
Note that.
100% do that.
I think,
So did you want to put a condition on the motion?
I don't even know what to put on.
We'll take care of it.
all right, good discussion. Open it back if anyone wants to make a motion.
I can.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreckman.
Okay. Okay, Dreckman, motion to approve resolution number P2602, resolution of the Planning Commission of the Town of Erie recommending that the Town Council adopt an ordinance repealing and reenacting section 10612 of the Erie Municipal Code and amending definitions related thereto, all regarding sign regulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anybody want to request a roll call vote? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you get to change hats.
So the second item on our agenda is 26-66, discussion of the planning commission appointments. Time is now 6:54 PM. So I asked staff to add this to the agenda. The clerk released the application for the next 3 seats of the planning commission. I've talked with the 3 commissioners whose terms are expiring, and 2 of them expressed interest for continuing their work here. And tonight I want to discuss if we want this body to provide a recommendation to the town council on any of those appointments. So tonight is really just about giving direction to staff to draft up a resolution or whatever makes the most sense, if we want to do that. And then I would expect that on our February 18th meeting where we actually vote on that resolution, if that's the course of action. So this is kind of an open forum if we as the council, or we as the planning commission want to provide a recommendation to the town council.
I haven't been around long enough to know this, but someone maybe like Andrew, or is that normal?
So
Is that no, okay.
in the last, and the terms expired for the 4 who were added,
Right.
for Commissioner Strackman, Chair, Vice Chair, and actually it was Martin.
Martin Laws, yeah.
It was, I believe that they just asked if you guys were interested in re-upping, and then they voted on it.
Right, yeah, I just didn't know if in the past, like, prior to that, we had recommended.
The answer is no. That's never occurred. I will say, though, because of the extensive amount of turnover that has occurred,
Right,
I don't think that's ever occurred for, that reason alone, if not any other. But no, it has never been prior to 2020 through date, never had a recommendation. It's our appointment is at the discretion of the council.
right. Okay. I was
It's
just-
different,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was just wondering, that was the only.
Yeah, it's
curiosity.
different for the other boards,
Oh, okay.
advisory boards, but the planning commission, yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I started on the sustainability board, and part of that was we interviewed the people. We're not interviewing the commission candidates. And it was just one of the things where it made sense to me that if we have an opinion, I think it's worth sharing.
Okay.
But again, that's my opinion, and I want to make sure that's the opinion of the full commission.
So would a resolution be required, or could we just send something saying we voted and feel this way?
I think it'd be safer to just do a resolution.
Okay.
So
Can I just ask, is it even within our power to make power, roles, responsibilities to make that recommendation? That is something that is spelled out for each and every one of the other boards and commissions, but not ours. And we don't have anything that is provided to us in terms of authority by statute to provide that recommendation. Can we provide a recommendation of something like that when we aren't explicitly provided that role or responsibility?
yeah, I think we can kind of interpret that that the planning commission can also provide that recommendation, even if it's explicitly stated. It's not saying that you guys can't either. So
Well, I would have loved to have you around for so many different things that we were trying to do over the years. It was always, vested powers granted to you from the council or board of trustees.
Yeah.
And I like your attitude.
yeah, I mean, I do think it's an interpretation thing too, right? So, but yeah.
Just to clarify, it's a resolution to recommend, correct?
Yeah, I think the wording, like I said, I think we'd give direction to staff and Kunal to write up something where we'd probably fill in the names of the recommendation. I talked with Commissioner Booth and Commissioner Burns and Commissioner Bayham, and Commissioner Bayham, you said you weren't interested in reapplying.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, so we're sorry to see you not come back, but I know Commissioner Burns and Booth were both interested, and I like the planning commission to give a recommendation that we keep them on. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So
I agree, I would be on board.
For continuity, it just makes a lot of sense.
I was going to say, I don't know if I want to hear that people don't. Maybe I don't want to do this. I don't want to know what people think.
It's too late, we've already said it.
so I don't think we need a formal vote, but just wanted to see if everyone's on board of that as a staff direction for our February 18th meeting.
And the reason the 18th.
The reason the 18th is, well, spoilers, we're probably not going to have a meeting on the 4th, so.
I don't think we need a vote.
Okay, so I've been on the other side. Again, this hasn't happened before. Yes, in terms of like a job application, you have references, right? Essentially that's essentially what we're trying to provide in that situation. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I'm on board or not. I don't disagree with it, but I don't fully agree with it. It's just it hasn't been done.
That's fair. Part of it is also, we've been talking about expanding our roles and responsibilities. So if
know.
one of our roles and responsibilities is ultimately to interview planning commissioners and then give our recommendation, and then maybe town council doesn't have to do that because that's a full night if they're going to interview everyone. So if we start here and then planning commission turns into the interviewing board because we have to work together, town council doesn't come to these meetings. So that's just my thought about it.
Wait, were you thinking,
Not for this round.
right, but with that recommendation, were you thinking that that would alleviate their need to interview the two of us?
I don't, that's their choice. I think in the code, it says commissioners shall be, or planning commissioner applicants shall be interviewed. So you've technically been interviewed in the past, so I don't know how they're going to quantify that or if they want to bring you in. I don't know. My goal is that you don't need to be interviewed because you have many years of service if they choose
That
to
does,
only reappoint.
that brings up some, to what Commissioner Burns was saying about what we've done in the past. Because we did have a lot of turnover, and I guess I was already seated, but I don't know exactly, let's just use Vice Chair Laws. Did he go through
Yeah, we all went through it.
Yeah.
the interview process?
Yeah, I think there were 7 people total.
It was.
I'm not comparing apples to apples, I don't think, but
Yeah.
It was
Andrew was on the board.
Everybody up here has been interviewed.
What happened is they took the list of people who applied and made a short list of 7 who were interviewed the last time.
Did anything happen to our terms during the home rule
No.
that made us just be automatically?
Yeah, it didn't affect us. As planning commission, we just kind of went, the problem was that we lost, 4
I'm just,
along the way.
I-
And, like I said, to point out or reiterate, I guess, what I was mentioning before, I guess I was a little interested to see what the process was here because when the 4 were re-upped 2 years ago, they didn't interview, as far as I'm aware, any of you guys again.
They did not. So the process, we were reappointed in September. And then effectively the term that we were appointed for was to April. So
Of 24, yeah.
of the next year. So a few months. So there wasn't value, and the clerk decided or asked the council at that time if they would just reapprove without doing a new application because they just appointed 4 people however many months ago.
I can see what relative to Commissioner Sawich's mentioned is it wasn't, I don't believe anyone else was asked, but I wasn't asked for an opinion on anyone specifically for that purpose. But so
I guess
this would be different, I guess. But it was also different circumstances.
And part of my thinking too is since we're not interviewing the other candidates, and we're recommending, again, what I would advocate for is we recommend we keep our current commissioners. We want to reapply, but we're not going to see the applications for everyone new, and then we just don't have a recommendation for the 3rd seat, and that's fully because I don't want to give a recommendation if we haven't interacted with the people either. So.
Yeah, but then we're providing two recommendations, but not the other. And if, going on with what you're saying, in the future, maybe we can review them like all the other boards and commissions. They review all the applicants and then they provide a recommendation to the council of who they recommend be appointed, right?
Right.
And typically it's just they follow the recommendation. But we're not involved in the interview process or reviewing the applications to say who is or isn't going to be. Staff is going to be the ones who are going to be recommending those to interview, and will be completely, council will be either out of the process or say, no, we want to take other individuals to interview as well, and then they'll go through the interviews.
Yeah, and part of, also the other part of the February 18th date, and the reason that it won't work is they're not actually closing the application until February 20th. I did send a message to the council last week asking that they push it to the 17th or something so we could look at that packet if we wanted to, but I didn't hear back and they kept the application open. So we won't be getting the full application packet by the deadline, by our meeting. And I don't think it's worth calling a special meeting if we haven't been asked to give our input. But like I said, I think it's valuable in my mind.
From my perspective, it's a vote of support for the people rather than anything else.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I just, again, it's never happened, and it's at
Yep.
per code, it's at the discretion of the council.
Yep. So why don't we do this? Why don't we have the resolution drafted, and we're going to have to discuss it anyway at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I think maybe staff could potentially put out a feeler to council to see how they feel about that, to see if they'd be willing to accept a recommendation. Because again, I don't know how they're going to feel. I don't know how I would have felt on the other side.
Yep.
That's where it hasn't happened. That's all,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't disagree with the intent.
Yeah.
You just don't want it to be received improperly on the other side. So we might want to have a feeler out there first.
I also have a feeling that with a fairly new council, I don't know that we're going to be able to get out of the interviews, because we haven't interacted with many of them or interviewed with many of them. So they may want to re-qualify us.
Yeah, but they have, I know many of them, if not all, look at the recordings of the meetings.
Yeah.
So they've seen how
How you conduct yourself.
Yeah.
But if you could get me out of that interview.
I'm doing my best. So, are
The interview really wasn't
as a commission, are we in agreement to have a resolution drafted for our February 18th meeting?
Yep. And I agree with I keep using first names. Commissioner Sawatch. Is that who said it?
Sawish, like
Sawatch. You see, that's what I want to say, Andrew. I'm just going to say Andrew. That if we could ask the town council, I think that's
I agree with that.
a good idea.
Okay,
Yep. I'm on board with that.
that works. I'll follow up with staff in the next few weeks before our meeting. So, do you have clear direction over there?
I think so. I was just going to ask. I heard it sounds like you want to see a draft resolution that would support the existing PC members in terms of reappointments, and then have an item placed on that 2/18 date for discussion of that.
Discussion and vote, yes.
With the assumption that the town council doesn't, or agrees, rather doesn't disagree.
Okay.
And I was actually interested in clarification on what, if they're expecting the existing commissioners who are interested in continuing to submit a new application and interview versus their review like they've done previously. In other words,
Yeah.
I assumed it was, because when and it's a little bit apples and oranges, they reviewed the four in 2024 just separately. Without a full application process and interview. They just, I don't know if they had a vote or what, or if it was just consent agenda, but they just, they're approved for another 4 years. Or if, they're looking for us to go through the interview process like the new applicants as well. Just, and more, maybe more in terms of timing as well. So I didn't know if this was gonna happen before and they were gonna go into the full interview process, looking at one spot or 3 or 2.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if we have to do the application
Yeah,
as
so it's just
sitting.
in the sense of like if you're asking kind of like, hey, how do you guys feel about a recommendation? Can we get a little bit of clarification on the timeline here or what they're thinking for existing commissioners? And are we going through the same process as new applicants?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. For OSTAP, I thought I had to redo the application every time, but I could be wrong.
Regardless, they can check. Add that to your list, please.
Yes, we,
Yes.
we can
Exactly.
totally check. I would assume that it's like any type of internal recruitment or external, or you basically start over, but we'll find out.
Define the
Yeah,
process.
since I was just not involved in the last one.
Okay.
Like I just heard that they had okayed everyone, so I was like, oh, cool.
Okay. Yes.
Thank
So I'm
you.
not even sure exactly what happened.
Thank you. We'll revisit this on the 18th as well with our continued item. Don't forget about that one.
That's a big one.
Time is now 7:11 p.m. and we have concluded general business. We'll move on to staff reports. No specific items, but
Yes, I just have 2 things to note. One of all of you should have received an email from IT regarding starting the mandatory security trainings. So just make sure that you do that, and it has to be completed by March 12th. So that's one thing to note. And then the other thing I think we've already alluded to was our 2-4 meeting has nothing on the agenda. So wondering about whether or not we should cancel that.
does anyone have any pressing items they'd want to talk about on 2-4?
When do we have planned the meeting with council?
The council meeting is after the appointment of the planning commission, so mid-April or early April.
Because we have the couple items that we want to discuss ahead of time,
Yeah,
and knowing we're probably gonna have some cancellations after that point as well. So do we kick it to another proposed canceled event or proposed canceled meeting in the future, or do we use this one?
Well, probably with the new planning commission. Wouldn't it be best to have the new planning commission members
Well, we're not,
here?
there'll
not
be
gonna have
one
time.
meeting with the new planning commission
Yes.
before the meeting with town council.
yeah. So we're gonna only
that's
have
the meeting where
one attempt. Yeah, and it's
Right.
it's probably not going to be where we're gonna say, "Hey, here's our thoughts," and just
Yeah.
one. I mean, roles and responsibilities. There's been like what 12 meetings since like 2000 or 2020. About that topic alone. So
I'll be honest, I'm not actually going to be available for the 4th, so it doesn't bother me if you have a meeting. It'll just be everyone else here.
then we're canceled.
So
But I think you should be in the discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
We're having something on 18th. What is the potential of March? And March starts spring break. Doesn't affect me, but spring break is in March.
Can we add it to the end
Here's
of the
the-
18th meeting?
yeah, we can start talking about it on the 18th. There's probably going to be enough time. It'll be a little bit longer. Worst case, I move my Roberts Rules meeting to another time. Considering I haven't.
Well,
read
would the
it.
Roberts rules be handy with the new?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'll help me not write my presentation that I haven't written yet either.
You're welcome.
So we're saying March 4th, which has nothing on the advanced agenda at this
Yeah.
point.
So,
Yeah, there are no land use cases for. Oh, I'm sorry, you said March.
March
Or
4th.
February in my head.
Yeah, February was is it Spring Hill?
that was on the agenda, advanced agenda from December timeframe. So, well, it sounds to me like it's okay to cancel. If anyone has a really strong opinion, reach out to Vice Chair Brodus because he'll be running the meeting. But as of now, we'll call it canceled.
All right.
Okay.
Time is now 7:15 PM, and we'll finish with commissioner reports and discussion. Anybody have anything to report or discussion?
Good luck, Broncos.
All right. Well, thank you. And that concludes all the items on our agenda. Commissioner Booth?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Time is now 7:15 PM. We are adjourned.